Welcome back. At PAX Prime, ArenaNet announced Guild Wars 2, the base game, was going free to play, effective now. And their first expansion for Guild Wars 2, Heart of Thorns, will be released October 23rd. Now, why did they do this? Their payment model is buy to play. Buy the game, and there's no subscription fees. This is a win-win situation for both the player and the developer. Players feel that they have more freedom to play because they're not locked into the obligation to play because they're paying a subscription. And of course, who doesn't mind not paying sub fees? Devs, on the other hand, make money on the sale of the expansion, and they can release other items that are not pay to win to supplement income. The problem comes in when there's multiple expansions. That can be a lot of money for a new player to invest, so making the core game and outdated expansions free will make it easier and more affordable and more convenient for new players. Well, what about players who bought the game? Well, free players do have some restrictions because you know what would happen if there wasn't any. Free accounts have fewer character slots and bag slots. Free accounts can use local chat and whispers, but not map chat. With whispers, they can both start new conversations and reply to existing conversations, but are limited to starting new conversations no more than every 30 seconds. Free accounts can buy and sell common goods on the trading post, but they can't mail gold or other items directly to other players, trade gold for gems, or access guild vaults. Free accounts also have some restrictions to prevent them from skipping ahead to places where they could be used to disrupt the game. They must be level 10 before leaving the starter zones, be level 30 before using the LFG, the Looking for Group tool, and level 60 before using World vs. World. They can play PvP immediately, but they must get rank 20 before using custom and unranked arenas. I think these restrictions are fair, and they do prompt the player to purchase the game. Considering that you can get the game from Amazon for less than $25 at this point, I think that it's a good deal. So what about Heart of Thorns? This is the first expansion for Guild Wars 2. It comes with the regular price range. Expansion prices standard is $49.99, deluxe is $74.99, and ultimate is $99.99. And as you can see, it comes with the expected benefits for each tier. Heart of Thorns brings with it new areas to explore, a new profession, a new mastery system, which changes player progression after level 80. Now keep in mind, they mentioned that they will not be extending the max character level over 80. So this should be interesting. There is a lot to the expansion that I'll be covering more over the next couple of months. Now note, if you registered the core Guild Wars 2 game before January 23rd, 2015, and you register a pre-purchase serial code for Heart of Thorns anytime before the expansion is released, you'll receive a free character slot. Once you apply the pre-purchase serial code, you'll be eligible for the slot regardless of where you bought the core game. Now, if you were one of those people that bought the game from a retail vendor and you applied it to your account between January 23rd, 2015 and June 16th, 2015, and that's where I fall in, you'll be eligible for a free character slot as well if you apply the Heart of Thorns pre-purchase serial code before the expansion releases. So basically you have to purchase and apply the code for the expansion before it releases. All accounts that become eligible by July 9th will have their free character slot applied by July 10th. Eligible accounts that are upgraded with a pre-purchase code after July 10th will receive their slots on a weekly basis after that. So I'm saying this that you know if you do this, you're not going to see instant access now. They apply it on a weekly basis at this point. Another new thing that's coming to Guild Wars 2 are raids. Players who purchase the expansion will get access to their first raid. With the first of 3 associated wings being activated shortly after launch. They will be looking at the balance between the new professions, specializations, and masteries, and making adjustments before the raid is released. The remaining 2 raids will be released shortly after the 3rd. Raids are going to be 10-player instant content that will also tie into the new mastery system of progression. And here's a quote from ArenaNet. In the first raid wing, players will face 3 awesome, diverse, and very challenging bosses, as well as an epic event that will leave players literally running from their lives. Each encounter will introduce different mechanics that require unique strategies to overcome and will be a big accomplishment if defeated. For each encounter, our goal is that you need to face it many times to learn how to defeat it, continuing to develop your strategies, refining your communication, and honing your tactics through practice in order to execute a high degree with the hope of eventually conquering it and moving on to the next encounter in the wing. Altogether, players can expect to face big challenges in all 3 wings that will stretch the abilities. Raids will also become a key part of our live strategy for Guild Wars 2 in the future, but we'll discuss that more down the road. As part of the rewards for raids, we're introducing legendary armor. Conquering raid content will earn you the pieces to build legendary precursor armors, which can be forged into legendary heavy, medium, and light armor sets. Like legendary weapons, these pieces will have the same stats as ascended armor. You'll be able to change the armor stats out of combat and dazzle your friends with the sense of style, but you won't have a statistical edge. Endless tiers of gear grind to stay raid relevant have no place in Guild Wars 2. End quote. Guild Wars 2 does not use the Holy Trinity model for group content, where players play a specific role like healer, tank, etc. Well, it's really DPS, healer, tank, that's the Trinity. In truth, they have their own Trinity, damage, support, control. All players have the ability to heal themselves, and, to my knowledge, there are no taunts in the game. You can't easily control mob or boss behavior. Add to that every player can play each role, and you can change these roles on the fly. And that ticks a lot of people off, which is why I'm mentioning it. Many players like to play a specific role, like, for example, tank or healer. And tanks in this game do a lot more than absorb damage, which is why they're called control. And healers do a lot more than heal, which is why they're called support. Arena wants to make a game where people play with each other, not alongside each other. It'll be interesting to see how these raids play out. I admit that I am very new to Guild Wars 2. I got into Guild Wars 2 back in May when a certain MMO that shall remain nameless started talking about removing flying. I figured if I'm going to play a game that doesn't have flying, I'll play Guild Wars 2, because it doesn't have flying either. But I don't feel like I'm being punished, because they do have a way to travel long distances in the game quickly. The thing is that I didn't consistently play because I was waiting to hear more about the expansion. In the upcoming months, I'll be sharing more about the game because I know I can't be the only one new to Guild Wars 2. This was a nice surprise coming out of PAX, and it was wise to do this at PAX, a smaller gaming venue, so that it wasn't buried in the other gaming announcements coming out of E3 and Gamescom. It makes sense to make the base game free, as they are hoping the expansion brings old and new players to Guild Wars 2. Why put barriers in place to make it harder for players to play together and enjoy the game? Now, this does put pressure on ArenaNet to release content that people want to buy. And honestly, I think that's the best motivation. Let me know in the comments, do you play Guild Wars 2? And are you looking forward to the expansion? Any thoughts on the base game being free to play? That's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter to keep informed on new videos. And I will see you guys in the next one.